Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the panel United Nations Interactions with Local Actors in the Provision of Global Public Goods. This is a panel co-hosted by the International Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges in Klagenfurt and UNEP is Vienna. And the aims of the panel are to contribute to the overall aims of ACUNS Vienna UN Conference of connecting UN system academics and practitioners and inviting the academic community to do research and discussion on the conceptual framework of local provision of global public goods as a basis for multi-stakeholder engagement in global governance in general and sustainable development governance in particular. And another aim of the panel is to highlight the regional potentials in Austria and Central Europe and also in the broader European Union for building the knowledge base for global governance, focusing on social and technological innovation. And the fourth aim is to present the concepts and the activities and plans of our organization, IAAI, as potential global flagship initiatives for civic engagement and in particular youth engagement in the UN system, and putting it in context of Austrian leadership, the actual and the potential leadership in the UN system, and the work of Vienna-based UN agencies and activities and potentials of our cooperation partners like Wikimedia Austria and other competence centers like the Foundation on Global Governance and Sustainability. And so the speakers on this panel are Mr. Harald Egerer, Head of Vienna Office of the United Nations Environment Program, who is also co-host of this panel, Claudia, Garad, Executive Director of Wikimedia Austria, Ambassador Walter Maria Stojan, Head of the Unit for Environment at the Austrian Federal Ministry for European and International Affairs, Georgios Kostakos, Executive Director of Foundation for Global Governance and Sustainability, based in Brussels. And we will have also a video message of Ravi, Karkara, who is a global expert advisor on children and youth for UNHABITAT and the UN Millennium campaign. A brief introduction about our organization, International Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges, an organization accredited with ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, and the UN Department for Public Information. It's based in Klagenfurt am Wörthersee in Austria. Our organization develops and implements science-based conceptual and technological innovations for local level resource mobilization for sustainable development, and has been heavily involved in Rio Plus 20 UN Conference on Sustainable Development by facilitating the Rio Plus 20 Issues Cluster on Innovation and organizing Rio Plus 20 Global Youth Music Contest. This mobilization of resources and multi-stakeholder engagement that we are promoting is organized as a global action network with the slogan, with the name GloCha, standing for Global Challenges. And this multi-stakeholder action network aims at supporting the vision, goals and work of United Nations system by connecting the UN system in innovative ways and on very large scale with the intellectual and financial resources and action of global citizens and local communities. We have three dimensions. One is we are developing and promoting new conceptual frameworks like the local provision of global public goods that you will hear about. We have campaigns and competitions like the Global Youth Music Contest, 15-15-15 UN Civil Society Resource Mobilization Partnership, the concept of a Global Challenges Giving Pledge, and the third dimension is the development of information and communication technology for this kind of action and coordination. So, regarding local provision of global public goods, what's the main idea of it? It is that we have on the one hand these United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and other UN goals that the UN system as an intergovernmental body and only based on the resources of governments cannot fulfill. We see it in the climate change challenge and development challenges, and many other challenges are of a nature where the UN system needs to reach out and to get also other actors like the private sector, the business sector, but also every global citizen and especially also local communities engaged. And this needs new governance models, it needs new coordination mechanisms, new information management systems, and for this new research is needed and also somehow a cultural shift. And a key role in this is played by information and communication technologies and social media. So a very narrow and preliminary definition of local provision of global public goods concept is to create a matrix and information management system for systemic integration of multi-stakeholder action impact. And the main idea is of the local provision of global public goods conceptual framework to frame local level sustainable development action of individuals and especially of young people and micro-social entrepreneurs, as well as local communities which deliver an added value in terms of attainment of globally agreed United Nations goals as provision of global public goods, to document them, crowdsource their evaluation and connect them in innovative ways with local and global public and philanthropic sources of sustainable development financing. We have scientific work about this in many scientific organizations, public organizations, also in international organizations. Here I'm presenting a chart of Sagasti and Besançon, financing and providing global public goods, expectations and prospects from the year 2001 for Sweden. And the key and leading author and expert, this is Inge Kaul, and her publication on the new public finance responding to global challenges that has been produced in cooperation with UNDP, UN Development Program, is one of the leading publications there. And today's panel aims at looking how these concepts can be useful for the ongoing processes at the United Nations, the post-Rio +20 implementation, the Sustainable Development Goals formulation process, and also the post-2015 regime about the development goals. So how can we use new thinking for global resource management 2.0? And how can we identify the resources that the world needs for sustainable development, and how all relevant actors can be engaged and built into a conceptual framework and information management system. Our organization has had in this context two events in New York recently, one on the 12th of December at the 6th session of the Open Working Group on Sustainable Development Goals, and the topic of the side event, which was held at the Trusteeship Council Chamber, has been UN system partnering with civil society on resource mobilization for sustainable development. And the whole event can be also looked at on UN Web TV as a video on demand. And yes, the second event in the context of Open Working Group on SDGs was on the 6th of January. The title was With Foresight, Games and Information and Communication Technologies Towards Sustainable Cities. And here in this graph you can see also these different, where the global public goods are. So here, this is the individual added value of a resource use. Here are the costs. Here is the local public added value and the costs that might be covered by local community. And this green one is global public added value, for instance, of planting a tree or for using a low carbon transport system. And the challenge is to identify the value of these green bricks. And one way of incentivizing also people to produce, to use resources in a way that very many green bricks or global added value is produced is to incentivize it by games and also by activities like our Global Youth Music Contest. So today's session is about these green bricks. How can we really find them, and how can we make people aware that with everyday decisions in the shops and in the car, also they contribute to the well-being of present and future generations in terms of sustainable development. Our activities are very much being developed also with the Academic Council on the United Nations System Vienna Liaison Office, and Michael is a great friend and a real expert in these topics. We have had a presentation of our concepts and global youth music contest here already in 2011 at ACUNS annual meeting, Vienna meeting in 2012, a workshop on multi-stakeholder partnership for sustainable development February 2013, and we also participated at the UNEP, the Vienna office conference on intergenerational learning, where we chaired a panel on Central European leadership in innovation and youth engagement in UN programs. And the last thing I want to mention, which is very characteristic and important for us, is that our activities are very strongly connected with regional development perspectives of Carinthia, Kärnten, Koroška, and we have had in September event at the regional parliament. It was the Zukunftsfest Kärnten, Koroška, Carinthia, celebrating the future. You see the roll up there, and it was really in partnership with regional ministers for environment, for economy, and with the president of the parliament and the civil society organizations. We discussed how these partnerships with the United Nations system could be a chance for our province, and to deepen this and to develop it further, there will be a conference on the 4th and 5th of June this year in Klagenfurt. Topic is sustainable development, innovation and youth. We have combined it with a workshop for youth from Central European countries. We have received a grant from Central European Initiative for this in the context of Austrian presidency of Central European Initiative. For information, Austria is also presiding over ECOSOC this year, and there was also declared that youth and civic engagement, civil society participation are priorities of this presidency, so things come together very good. And in Klagenfurt we will also develop the concept and some papers for a global challenges information and communication technology hub, which will be also a global youth innovation and participation research and technology development center, planning also the next round of global youth music contest. And that's somehow the background, and our slogan is everybody can and shall contribute to sustainable development. And I hope that today's panel and our esteemed panelists will broaden our knowledge and perspectives on this. With this, I give the floor to Harald, Egerer, UNEP, and they will bring it up and you have the voice. To switch, you have
Okay. Thank you very much, Miroslav. It's a big pleasure for me to be here, and I have to say that the subject is rather something also new to us. I think it's thanks to the creativity and also initiative of Miroslav, who has been putting together this panel, that it is going ahead. And I will try to give you our, let's say, view on it. First of all, from obviously from the point of view of environmental issues, so through the environmental or green lens. And then maybe also an example of our daily work, of how far we got with this. And I have to apologize that after my presentation I will have to leave because I have another appointment afterwards. So I want to start with the issue of global environmental goals. You might know that there are many treaties and policy instruments in many areas: climate change, biodiversity, wildlife, chemicals management, pollution control, and so on and so forth. And there are more than 500 of these environmental goals agreed on the global level. And last year, when we were preparing for Rio de Janeiro, let's say the edition of the World Summit, Rio plus 20, we made an assessment, UNEP and the scientific community, of 90 of the most important environmental goals and indicators. So we did this in 2012. Well, the result of this assessment was rather shocking, maybe not unexpected, but still shocking, because it's very clearly said that only in 4 out of these 90 goals significant progress had been made. This was in particular in the field of the ozone layer, where it seems that indicators of the stratospheric ozones are improving. It related to the phase-out of leaded gasoline, and it was also about improving, let's say, research about the marine environment. Now, in many other goals there was very little or some progress made, such as in the field of nature protection, a slight extension of protected areas. There were several areas where no progress was detected at all, such as in the fields of climate change, desertifications and drought. And there were also fields where obvious degradations and deteriorations were noticed. I think in 8 out of the 90 goals it was very clear that the deterioration took place, such as in the case of coral reefs. So this was basically the assessment, and we all know, and it was also a finding of this report, that we are in the process that critical thresholds, environmental capacity risks to be surpassed, that could lead or might lead to abrupt and maybe unforeseen or irreversible changes of the life support functions of this planet. One of the examples obviously is the issue of climate change or global warming, and one of the conclusions is that there is need for a real transformative change. Business as usual is not an option following this report, and that the transition to a green economy, economy that is low in carbon emissions, for example, and socially justified, is needed. Now, there were also some recommendations given. How can we achieve that transformative change, or what should we do? We need some innovative responses. Some of them are not that innovative, but they are still called innovative. I think what is clear is the vision of sustainability. There has to be a shared vision throughout all the communities and throughout society about what is sustainability, what should it be, and then this has to be defined by goals and targets and scientific evidence that underpins these goals and targets. So that would be already very important. Then there needs to be investment in enhanced capacity at all levels, because also I think it's we cannot assume, and we should not assume, that such issues can be solved at the level of the United Nations. It concerns everybody, from us as professionals to local stakeholders, citizens that need to participate in that, as you rightly said. There needs to be continuous monitoring of the situation and strengthening of the scientific knowledge for decision making, and obviously there needs to be education. Young people have to be drawn into this discussion and sufficiently informed. And last but not least, very important, a strengthening of access to information, public participation, access to justice. I would call it environmental democracy and, let's say, environmental human rights or something like that. Now, I come to our concrete example. Sorry, there's one slide, I think. No, it was the one. Yeah, the one on the global warming obviously leads to, and this is a graph that shows the development of the world's glaciers in a very, let's say, striking way. What we can say is that generally, even so some people say that some glaciers are growing, but the vast majority of glaciers are melting. They have lost about half of their, of their mass already, and the deterioration, the meltdown of the glaciers is continuing, and the speed of the meltdown is still increasing. So the glaciers are melting, and they are melting faster and faster and faster. Now, this concerns obviously the mountains, and we work on mountains, so we say that mountains are very important resource for, in particular, in the water cycle, but also in many other aspects, which we call mountain ecosystems, goods and services. And obviously, many of them are public goods and services that are provided by mountains and by mountain, let's say, people living in the mountains and caring and providing them. They come from sports to water storage, natural nature conservation and so on, until even spiritual levels and immaterial goods and services that are provided. Mountain services and goods are not only important for people who live up in the mountains, but they are also very important for people living in the lowlands. So one can also say that mountain communities are involved in providing these goods not only to themselves, but also to the entire world and to lowland communities. I don't want to go much more further in the theory about ecosystem services. You are probably students and very well aware, I hope at least, of what it is, but these ecosystem services can be provisioning, they can be regulating, they can be cultural, and basically they are very diverse. And we can see also that most of ecosystem services, or there is a very high density of and capacity of ecosystem services provided by mountain areas. On this map you can see there was a kind of mapping on capacity of how many ecosystem services a certain territory of the world can provide, and it's quite obvious that mountains are very, very important factors, because they are water towers, they are heavens or safeguards of biodiversity and so on. And also, again, underpinned by the very big importance of that mountains play in the water cycle, not only with the permafrost, but in general in the water cycle. We have been summarizing this. I told again, I think we are a bit late, so I don't want to repeat, but we are involved in promoting attention and consideration to the importance of mountains for the known reasons. We are aware and we are calling for increased assessment and monitoring of the environmental issues mountains are experiencing. We say that mountains are very, well, let's say a few years ago we said mountains are early indicators of climate change. Today I would say mountains are amongst the territories that are most affected or where climate change are very visible. Mountains have a big capacity to, let's say, they are extreme, they are, things can happen, they are used to radical climate or radical environmental conditions, but at a certain moment it's clear that this threshold is surpassed and the effects on mountains today are very, very visible. They are dramatic. You all know pictures of how they looked like 100 years ago and how they look today. Which again leads and will lead to massive societal problems and economic issues. So it's not about caring the mountains and keeping them as they are for themselves, but as already said, also because of their interaction and influence on mankind and on the global environment. This is why, and we come back to the goals and indicators and so on, we are always trying to make sure that attention to mountains is included into global goals. One example was Rio +20, where mountains have been included in one of the many paragraphs that is the Future We Want declaration of last year included. And we are currently now, with the help also of the Austrian government, of the Swiss government, in cooperation with the development corporations, many other partners, involved in the post-2015 development agenda discussion. You know that we had Millennium Development Goals, and you may also know that now after Rio we are working on Sustainable Development Goals that should start in 2015, and where it is about integrating environmental issues into Sustainable Development Goals, so that there are not development goals on one side and environmental goals on the other side, but that they are come together. That requires that environmental considerations are included in there. Our way of how we try to do it, it's now seems that we will get very generic and very quite abstract, but comprehensive and overarching development goals, sustainable development goals. And the challenge for us is now that we include certain issues at the level of targets and indicators. So what we're now trying to do is, for instance, there is a sustainable development goal on energy, then we want to include on the level of targets and indicators why sustainable and renewable energy is particularly relevant in mountain areas. Or when it's about biodiversity, we want to include that mountain biodiversity is still or is becoming the backbone of our world ecological network. That's why we need specific targets in there, and so on and so forth. The same is true for climate change and so on. So this is what we are doing in a concrete way at the level to define these goals. Now, again, in our daily work, then it's not stopped, and then we have to, as we see, we have also tried to achieve these goals. First of all, the goals have to be good, as we said, and scientifically proven. That's a precondition. And then we try to work on it. In our very, let's say, close work, we work particularly in the Carpathian Mountains with one of our programs, which is a mountain range that starts east of Vienna, in Hamburg, more or less, and goes down all the way to close to the Black Sea, and includes 7 countries of Central and Eastern Europe. We have a very close cooperation with NGOs, with stakeholders who actively participate in our decision making as much as we can, and we try to do as much as we can. And also, as part of this, we have had one very innovative project, I think, that was bringing together older and young people to try to have an intergenerational knowledge and transfer and education. Very maybe a little bit small example that older people remember many things that maybe younger people don't remember. For instance, this year for me is the first year that we are in January and we have no winter. Might be no reason for that, but for my children it will be normal. It will be absolutely normal. My daughter now is 5 years old, so for she might be used to that. As part of this project, we have also set up an electronic platform, community livelihood platform, that can be seen at the website of the Big Food project, so that it was called. In this, we are looking very much forward in this new area to work together with you, and we hope that we can contribute and further prepare for the GloCha conference that will be held in June 2014. Where I think we can go a little bit deeper into the subject, and I look very much forward to work also with you on this issue. So I hope this was a useful introduction into the subject matter, and I thank you with this very much for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Harald. This was really a wonderful presentation, and I'm very much impressed how really you addressed the topic and connected your work with this relatively abstract topic, and congratulations and thank you for this. As Harald will have to leave soon, perhaps 1 or 2 questions immediate if they are related to Harald's work, or any questions regarding understanding something. Okay, thank you with this. Oh, do you see something? No. Okay, it was totally clear. So thank you very much, and we will stay connected. And with this, we come to Claudia, from Wikimedia Austria, because as experts in public goods know, knowledge and education and this kind of things and research are also public goods, and this Wikimedia platform is a leader in global knowledge collaboration and engaging broad participation of the public, and we are delighted to have you here, and we are looking forward to you sharing some views on the topic.
Thank you. Can you please hand me over the presenter, please? So yes, thank you very much, Miroslav Polzer and the organizers of this conference, to give us the chance to be here today and tell a little bit about what we do in our work here in Austria, but also on a global level. I'm here today, like my name is Claudia, Garad, as you know already pointed out, and I'm here today as a representative of Wikimedia Austria, an association that supports free knowledge in general and Wikipedia and other Wikimedia projects in general here in Austria. And today I just want to point out a few things, how we look on our projects as global public goods, and perhaps this is a first starting point to identify some common goals or even potential for future cooperation, or even just to recognize the potential of Wikipedia and its sister projects as a platform to communicate the great work you are doing here. I'm already very impressed by the two previous speakers and their initiatives. So our mission, in the words of our co-founder Jimmy Wales, is to bring about a world in which every single human being can freely share the sum of all human knowledge. To do this or to achieve this, we collect and generate educational content and try to disseminate it effectively and globally. Our most well-known project in this regard is Wikipedia. And the Wiki thought is not only that everybody can access it, but also that everybody can collaboratively work on bringing this content into the world. What many people don't know is that Wikipedia really is only one of our projects. There are several others by now. Each of these icons you can see above represents one of our other global projects that we have. Unfortunately, I don't have time to talk about each one of them. Just to point out two other projects, there's one big multimedia archive that we have, like all the pictures and videos you see on Wikipedia are from this archive, but there are millions and millions more files that you can find there, all for free licenses, free for you to use as well. And of course, we're also happy if people upload their photos and video files under free license there as well. Or Wikiversity, which aims to generate free educational material for universities and other educational organizations. Yeah, Wikipedia is often pointed out as the success story of the internet, as the example of everything that we regard as good and cool about the internet and how it can work. It launched in 2001 and took off quite quickly. By 2006, it surpassed all other news and information sites in terms of popularity. Actually, yesterday was the birthday of Wikipedia. I celebrated its 13th birthday just yesterday. And by now it's the number 5 most popular website in the entire world, which is cool by itself. But if you look at it, that it's the only one of these top 5 who is like completely produced by volunteers and kept by donations and not by a company, then that's pretty awesome. And all the people who work on Wikipedia are just really ordinary people, and even if they have credentials, which many of them surely have, like they're professors, politicians, but also students, like they leave that at the door, so it's a pretty egalitarian system. Although, of course, there are hierarchies in Wikipedia itself that I think that's pretty human. how do we look at Wikipedia as a public good? What makes it special from all the other big internet sites, apart from that it's volunteer-based and kept up by donations? Because quite a lot of times, especially when we go out there and ask for donations, people ask us, so why don't you just start to put some ads on Wikipedia? Then you would get rid of all of your problems at once. You could have loads and loads of money probably to keep up this great project and do even more great work in this area and gain much more impact, which is probably true. But it would also change the very nature that made Wikipedia so successful. And the executive director of the Wikimedia Foundation in the USA, Sue Gardner, made a very nice statement which brings it straight to the point when she said that we're not against commercial sites or profit organizations. On the contrary, like the free licenses we use are especially designed that they can also be used for commercial purposes. But we think that in the internet, just like in the real world, there needs to be a balance between public interests and profit interests. And so like every city has restaurants and shops and banks, there are also parks and public libraries and the like. And Wikipedia is like a big park. It's there for everyone, accessible for everyone and everybody. And I think that's what makes us successful and big. But nevertheless, it's not only a success story. It's not like, oh, and they edited happily ever after and went on like this. Because unfortunately, we are pretty much the only ones in that big scale. And we have to ask ourselves, where are the other parts? Because Wikipedia is the only donor-supported site in the top 50 websites and the only one in the top 25 websites that is non-profit. And of course there are heaps of other initiatives, smaller ones, that are great, but to be honest, like, we're not gaining much ground in this regard. On the contrary, the internet gets more and more a big private sector interest space, and is more accountable to corporate shareholders than to citizens. Because aside from us, there is no other site or organization of that size. And I think that's not a good thing, and that's probably also something that's in your interest, that the internet is free and neutral and open to everybody to achieve these goals that you talked about. So that's probably the first common denominator that we have in this regard, and we are always looking for people that help us to achieve these goals. So we're not only looking into our own projects, but also into the larger framework, because Wikipedia can only exist in a surrounding that is allowing it to be free and open for everybody. So that was the global level, but what do we do here in Austria, like as a local chapter, to support these goals and these projects that I just described? First and foremost, we support our local community here, the Austrian editors and photographers that contribute to Wikipedia and the other projects. Our local community, we do so by giving them technical infrastructure and support, project management, fundraising, of course, public relations, organizing events, everything that goes into that direction. Also, quality management is a big issue for us to keep up the good work that is done, because as much as we're happy about how big Wikipedia grows and grows farther every day, it's more and more work for the volunteers to keep these articles at a good quality and up to date. So these are all things we do here in Austria, and apart from that, we are also looking into ways to create the context that is also beneficial to our work, like I just described. And we do so by looking into ways to cooperate with national, federal, and also regional stakeholders and launch projects with them. Just to give you one brief example of what we do, apart from fostering and supporting Wikipedia projects, what we achieved here in Austria, or trying to achieve at the moment, is a public open data portal. Because Austria is a pioneer when it comes to open government data. And this is very nice and good situation for us, USP, as you say in marketing, like a unique selling proposition we have as a chapter. We try to make this even more beneficial to us by expanding the situation not only to government data but to all other open data, which is data by NGOs and NPOs, by companies, and also by science and research. And we have a cooperation with the Open Knowledge Foundation Austria, and also the public sector, the Federal Chancellor's Office, for example, or the city of Vienna, that are also help us in this regard, with their know-how from the Open Government Data Portal that already exists in Austria, and also the technological infrastructure that they support us with. And the aim is to host this data portal and have all this data under the same free license, which is CC by SA 3.0. And this is not only a good resource for Wikipedia projects, but it also contributes to transparency and innovation in digital societies. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of potential here, and this might also be an interesting platform for data that you create in your projects around here, probably. So I don't know. Or this data might support you once it's available on the portal. So we aim to launch this project mid-2014. So yeah, that's just one example. Unfortunately, yeah, I would love to stay and talk to you and look for other questions that you have and means of cooperation, but I have to leave as well because we have another event going on in Salzburg and with the Federal Monuments Office, which is also a nice cooperation. They also gave us their open data, and we made a really cool project where we documented all the listed monuments in Austria, and had 3 years in a row a really big photo contest where all these monuments were photographed. And in these 3 years we managed to document 90% of all Austrian monuments in Wikipedia, and the other Wikimedia project was a cool success, and tomorrow we'll be on the fair and talk about this project. So that's just yeah, one final remark on open data and what we can do with it. Thank you very much for your attention. And please don't hesitate to contact me if you have further questions.
Great. Perhaps also to mention regarding this open government data and knowledge collaboration, we have the bridge also with UNEP. It's the ACUNS Convention about access to environmental information, and through such knowledge collaboration, data collaboration, this can be really advanced and then pioneering and mainstreaming into other parts of the world. And also perhaps information for the others that you are going to join us also at the conference in June in Klagenfurt with your members assembly the day after the conference and this kind of thing.
Yeah, we're very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And any questions? Yes, Ravi.
Thank you very much, Miroslav. I don't know whether I'll be able to catch up with Claudia and you in Klagenfurt. And since she's in a rush, and also Harald has just left, I will not miss this opportunity to ask one question to Claudia. I like this phrase that you park your credentials at the door, and I really think that this is something that makes Wiki wiki a very viable way of sharing knowledge. A few days ago, I have come across the Polish wiki portal with a biography of a well-known TV presenter who just passed away tragically. And that biography had then a remark that his father was employed by a Stalinist secret service, end of quote, roughly. After the whole confusion about the tragic deaths of the presenter, the wiki staff added that he was a serviceman. The father was a serviceman in the garage of a secret service. I think that one should also park the political convictions in interpreting certain data. So my question to Claudia is, do you really park also your political convictions in putting some things on the web? Thank you.
I personally do, or I try to, but of course there are people who also deliberately or non-deliberately bring in their political view into articles, and it happens, but the good thing is that people are aware of it. I can't really speak of the Polish Wikipedia because I don't know about their rules, because I don't know whether you know this, but every language version has its own rules. And the German Wikipedia has, surprise, surprise, when Germans work on something, have one of the large set of rules that makes it really hard to bring things in. So we have the pretty good situation, and that's the good thing, is that we have a lot of checks and balances in the German Wikipedia, which makes the quality of the content comparably good to many other language versions, and which also makes it harder to bring in political views because there are people aware of it, and brand new authors, they can't edit at once, like what you do if you're a new author, you type it in and somebody who worked on Wikipedia for a longer time has to look at it and then it goes online. Many language versions don't have that, so, and if there's really, if there's vandalism or anything, that's a good way to detect it, so yeah. But of course, not everything is perfect on Wikipedia, but I can tell you that most people put a lot of effort into trying to make it better. But of course, there are black sheep, or even people who don't even do it deliberately. So.
Yeah, thank you very much, Claudia. Perhaps also to connect the work with ACUNS, to tell you that with ACUNS and also Alistair helped to make it. We've had in July 2008 a workshop about building the knowledge base for global governance. It's somehow also the aim of ACUNS, and Wikimedia can play a very important role regarding these global challenges, building the knowledge base for it. And I've heard even that there have been efforts to make Wikipedia World Cultural Heritage or so.
Yeah, trying.
So in this sense, we will try to help you if we can.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, and with this we come to the third presentation or comments of Ambassador Walter Maria Stojan, a very open-minded and systemic thinking leader, and we have been walking on this journey towards a sustainable world together the last 2 years.
Thank you, Miroslav, and thanks the organizers, Michael Platzer, and the many helpful hands of the ACUNS conference for the invitation to be on this very interesting panel, which is at the first view on it, the quite abstract subject and headline, and has then, I think, the panel the necessity to break it somehow down to the real actions on the ground. Harald Egerer and our colleague from Wikipedia did it, I think, already quite impressive. And I also can assure you, Miroslav, that I will stay until the end.
Thanks.
So that you are not alone at the panel at 5:45 and at the closure of the session. No, but coming back to my field and reflecting a little bit into the history of our knowledge and getting to know each other is the Rio +20 conference and the preparation for it. And I really have also in this forum to congratulate you for your power, energy and success within the process preparing the Rio +20 conference 2012, because I think one of the subject of this evening and of our panel is how to get to be heard globally with the ideas we personally are all quite in favor of and agree to, and also maybe already adapted and apply it personally in our life. But how to make it stronger to be accepted internationally. And one of these channels you did through the Youth Cooperation was, I think, a very, very strong window of fresh wind into something which is also one of the diplomatic diseases that the United Nations processes have some intention of petrification and standardization and to shut themselves up against innovation from outside. But coming back to Rio, I think I had the impression, being in Rio and being in the preparation for it, that also the UN system understood and wanted to have a change in the participation of citizens for creating a new orientation internationally and globally. And this new understanding, I think, is maybe not so much known or discussed in different forums, but a very, very necessary ground and floor to step on for the definition of what and how should the future look like. Because Rio was not the end of a process, but the beginning of a discussion. And Harald Egerer already mentioned it, that we are now in the middle of a discussion about sustainable development goals. And in 2015, there should be a catalogue of goals, internationally binding, or at least giving orientation, and not applicable only for a certain set of countries, as the Millennium Development Goals, more or less oriented towards the development world, but globally accepted and applicable. So the subjects will be much broader than in the Millennium Development Goals and are therefore much more difficult to define. And in this definition process, which was started last year, civic society has a very specific and very necessary role. And this is why I see also this panel as a possible hint towards the public how to engage themselves, what to do, and what effects does the individual engagement have for international processes. Sometimes you have the feeling of people on the streets, well, there is the United Nations process and this is so far away from us. I can just influence my mayor and the member of my local parliament maybe, but that's it. And I can write a letter to some newspapers in Austria. They are eager to publish them to express my disagreement or agreement with developments in society and in Austria. But, and already on the European level, it starts to say, well, there's nothing I can do, there's nothing I can influence, and this is wrong. Giving you an example from another field, because I was introduced as responsible for environment in the Foreign Ministry. I'm responsible for environment and sustainability. In the environmental sector, of course, the climate change conferences are one of our most important topics. Also, I had a 2 hours discussion today with somebody discussing, does climate change happen? The colleague, co-discutant was not somebody coming from outer space, but from Austrian decision making. There you see even evident facts have to be repeated and repeated in order to be believed by a more majority than just the actors. But the influence of civil society was, for example, for me, very visible at our last conference of the parties, Climate Change Summit in Poland last November, when media expectation was very high, what would be the outcome of this conference, and process and progress was very, very low, very slow, and as usual, it is a cumbersome affair to discuss the 193 different perspectives for climate change policies. But civic society in the second week stepped out. Well, what does it mean, civic society stepped out? They are not parties of the conference, they are observers. But they stepped out, and the media reaction was enormous about the conference. So it helped the conference to some extent, but it helped, of course, also the intentions of the climate change NGOs, Greenpeace and Global 2000, to express their view that progress should be much faster, should be much stronger. So give pressure on ministers, because the timing was also very well planned, that the day before the ministers arrived, they stepped out in order to have the media at the day when they arrived presenting their ideas, and singing and shouting at the last day when the ministers had to take decisions in the stadium in order to give also, again, a signal of their disagreement on what's going on, because also the ministers started to not really move, but go in circles. And that's, I think, one very nice, wonderful example of civic society visible action, very much influencing people who are decision makers. And well, politicians are human beings as you and me. If you are confronted in private or in public with a view, you have to react. You cannot just ignore it. And this energy forces you to do something. Most of us try to hide themselves then behind the back of somebody else. But then this somebody else has to do something. So this activity is, I think, one of the very positive signals which should be given further and further to you and organizations to engage in discussions. And GloCha is one of these organizations already having understood this message and being active in the progress. The process itself, I just would like to maybe give you a short overview of what is happening and will happen for the definition of these so-called Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals will be, and also again example, about oceans. It is clear that the eradication of poverty will be #1 as goal. But then there will be about climate, about sustainable cities, about nutrition, about water, about energy. There is a catalog of more or less now 27 possible goals. And the question will be to size them down to a set which can be really read and understood, because it doesn't really make sense, or it doesn't help so much to have a document with 250 pages with all the proposals and obligations you would like to have and share, and cannot deliver it to the public. So the wish is to have a readable and understandable set of goals. It will be about, I would say, 10. And to have behind these goals targets what to reach, so not to have to go to half poverty in the world until 2015, which is a Millennium Development Goal, but to have it even closer defined where, how, and which measures should be taken. And the last group will then be indicators to show you, is this goal reached or not. So this is also a maybe new approach to international obligations, that you not leave it at the level of we accept, we will, but we will have to prove it at the year of 2015, or the Sustainable Development Goals are planned to reach the period of 2015 until 2030. The Sustainable Development Goals was an idea brought up during the Rio +20 conference, and I